Hi everyone, I'm Sam Lassen and welcome to Law Talk. Today, folks, we are here at Cefalo and Associates, 309 Wyoming Avenue, West Pittston, with a friend of mine for many, many years, Michael Cefalo, Cefalo and Association. You know, folks, the people's law firm, and they like it that way. I love that slogan, Mike.
Well, that's a good slogan, and I like it too. That's why we have it.
You were telling me a story about your dad, okay, and how this thing evolved about the people's law firm.
My dad one time was asked, he said to, somebody said to him, you must be very proud that your son's a lawyer. And he said, well, I'm really proud of the kind of law that he practices. And he said, what's that? He said, well, he doesn't represent any corporations or big businesses or the rest of that. So I had a conversation with my dad and I said to him, gee, that's a nice conversation that you had, but I really don't understand it. He said, you should call your law firm the People's Law Firm. And I said, gee, you know, I think that's okay. And it fell in because we don't have any retainers, we don't have any solicitorships, we don't represent any corporations, we don't represent hospitals or HMOs, we never represent an insurance company and never will. And after a while, we called ourselves the People's Law Firm, and then someone came up with the added slogan, and we like it that way. And it's been around for, I don't know, 30-some years, and we kind of like it.
Mike, I want to ask you one question, okay? I often just ask people when they're on my show, and thank you for sponsoring Law Talk. I think the public's in for a real treat with you.
Well, we hope so.
Yeah, there's no question about it. But, you know, why did you decide, you know, come from an Italian family, hardworking people, why did you decide to become an attorney?
Well, it was a long story. When I was in college, I never thought of being a lawyer. I always thought of being, I don't know, I think I wanted to be a helicopter pilot. And I took the law boards, and after college, they said that we didn't want you in the service. And I said to my dad, I said, I want to go to law school. So I went to Catholic University Law School in Washington, D.C., and the rest is history, as they say. I mean, that's how it happened.
So the reason why I asked you that, because I know you many, many years, and you're sort of like the pioneer when it came to television advertising, okay? And that was many years ago, because I remember I was, in 1980, you were very active.
Well, we were, and I think we started in the 70s, the late 70s. And how that came about is I always liked marketing. I always liked how the mind worked, why people did things, why people buy a product, why they think the way they do. And the Supreme Court of the United States decided that lawyers could advertise. During Abraham Lincoln's time, they advertised, and then they got away from that and they said it was unethical to be able to advertise. And I thought it was a good idea, and I just decided that hey, if we're out there and we're going to advertise, let's advertise and let's do it right. And television was one of the key modems to get your message across to the people.
You've been around for 49 years, you said, right?
I've been around for a long, long time.
Long time.
Long time.
And you've never, ever, you stayed true to form that you've nenever represented?
Never represented an insurance company and never will.
Why do you say that? I mean, why?
Because we get a thrill in this office of representing people, and we're a litigation firm, and we do mainly personal injury litigation. We do very little other than that. We do some complex criminal litigation. I've tried many murder cases, but right now we just get a thrill out of being able to represent an individual against corporate America. In fact, one of the advertisements I have is, I hate corporate America, and I'll bet you do too. And it's just one of those things. I mean, corporate America it's all about money, and we're all about people. Obviously, we're about people with money so we can get them money when they're injured, because that's the only remedy you have when you're injured is money.
So you build up the firm. And how many lawyers do you have here? What's your?
Well, I always say too many, but there are 9 of us.
Yeah, 9.
There's nine.
You have a supporting staff of 20, right?
And there's give or take, depending on who's coming and who's going and who's on maternity leave or who's not coming back or who got a new job. about that many.
So give us, before we talk, this the subject matter today, you're going to really love it because there's a lot of mistakes people make, but talking about all the different areas of law that your Cefalo and Associates covers.
We have a simple wills program, which we write a free simple will for anybody 55 years and older, and that's what we call senior citizens. We do some of that. But we don't do a lot of other things. We don't do real estate law. We don't do estates. We don't do landlord-tenant. We don't do zoning matters. Those are the things that we don't do.
Basically, litigation is what you're...
We're basically litigating. We're basically litigators. We're trial lawyers. That's what we are.
When you're looking at representing people, okay, and the criteria that you're looking for, meaning, there's a lot of lawyers, had a lot of frivolous lawsuits, okay? How do you address that, knowing what is the right way to go and what...
Well, that's an interesting subject because a lot of people talk about frivolous lawsuits, and we do a lot of focus groups. We get a group of people together and we talk about different kind of concepts. And one of the concepts they talk about is a frivolous lawsuit. And what is a frivolous lawsuit? We spend a lot of money, our own money, on behalf of clients to be able to develop their case, and we don't do that for frivolous lawsuits. If there's a lawsuit that is frivolous, we just don't do it. It's not cost effective. It's not good business sense. But there are a lot of people, they want to, there was a case where a guy sued cleaners because they didn't have his pants ready at times. We don't get involved in that. We mainly get involved in people that are injured, and basically they don't become frivolous. We've had a couple of cases where after we investigated them, we've told the people that we don't want to represent them. We didn't think there was any merit in them.
The reason why I asked that is because sometimes, the reputation that you've gained in the last number of years is the fact that you do represent the people the right way, okay?
We hope we do it, and that's a good reputation to have, and we try to make sure that we represent people fully, and we represent them adequately, and we represent them with all due diligence, and we represent them competently and professionally.
When we approached Mike Cefalo and talked about doing Law Talk, Mike was very receptive, but was concerned about different things about how much information we could really get across. You find in this business, people are thirsty for information. Okay, they need talking for a guy like you, 49 years around, you've been on television. You're no stranger certainly to the legal community, but there is a lot of people that are fearful or don't understand about the law.
There are, and one of the things that we always talk about is we give free advice. We never charge anybody for advice. And I give my cell phone number to anybody who wants it, and I respond to every single correspondence. I respond to every email. I respond to every text message, and I answer every single phone call. And there are lawyers around the country say, "My God, thank you for calling." And I say, "Why?" "Well, most lawyers don't return phone calls." I said, "Listen, if you have the courage and the energy to call me, I have the decency to call you back." There are a lot of people that do that. And most people want to know, they want to know information about the law. And I've been around, I've practiced all kind of law. I practiced real estate, I practiced zoning, I practiced estates, so that people ask you a lot of questions about a lot of things, and I can give them some information, and if I can't give them what information I think is necessary at that point, I give them a referral to somebody else and say, "Listen, you call John Doe, and I'm sure he's going to answer your question." And then I make it a point to call the lawyer, to tell him that John, whoever it is, Mary Smith, is going to call you, and that you should respond to them. And I do that because we refer a lot of cases out of this office. We get a deluge of all kind of questions and cases. And I tell people, listen, if you're going to do that, and I think lawyers understand that if I refer something to them, that they have to respond to it. And if they do, then I keep referring it.
Well, speaking about learning about certain things, when we come back after the break, folks, there's a lot of mistakes we make, particularly when we're in an accident, etc. And Mike's going to discuss some interesting points, part of the Law Talk show. And remember, you're watching Law Talk, brought to you by Cefalo and Associates, the people's law firm, and
we like it that way.
Be back right after this break. Welcome back to Law Talk, folks, brought to you by Cefalo and Associates, 309 Wyoming Avenue, West Pittston. I'm here with the man himself, attorney Michael Cefalo. And folks, the number here is very easy. It's 570-655-5555. So you just stutter a little bit and you get the phone number right. There's another thing you got going, the phone number. I mean,
yes, that there's a story behind everything, and the story behind actually what happened is this was when I started 100 years ago. My sister got a phone number, and it was 655-0000, and she says, you know, that's a long way. You got to remember, you got to dial the phone.
Right, yeah.
It's a long way for a zero. I said, you know what, Mayor? I said, maybe I'd like that. She said, there's another number around. She said, and I reserved it for you. I said, what's that? She said, 655-5555. I said, now that's a good number. Yeah. People will remember that. All zeros, I ended up with that number in my house because she didn't want it.
Well, anyway, we talk about informing the public, okay? There's mistakes people make. There's 11 mistakes here that people make when they get injured, correct? Okay.
Yes.
So why don't you tell us what they are?
The first mistake that people make is they give statements to their insurance companies. And ironically, what they do is somebody hits you with a car, and they get your name and address from the police report. And the first thing they do is they call you up because your phone number is there, and they say, how are you doing today? And the person said, I'm doing great. Oh, you're feeling fine? Yes, I'm feeling fine. Well, after a while, they suffer injury, they have pain, and then they're faced with that comment saying, well, we called you immediately after the accident, and you said you felt fine and you were doing well. The second one is, and this is kind of difficult. A lot of people try to handle their cases themselves. You have to remember, an insurance company has been in this business for hundreds of years. They have trained, experienced people. They have trained, experienced adjusters. They have trained, experienced investigators. You try it on your own. It's the first case you ever have. You don't know the first thing about it. You don't know whether you need a reconstruction person. You don't know whether you need separate kind of photographs. You don't know whether or not you need somebody to go out and get statements of what happened. You try to do it on your own. And what happens is you make things prolonged over and over again. And you know, time has a tendency to make memories fade. People don't remember. They can't quote it right. They get mixed up. The third one is people have a tendency to believe that the insurance company is going to protect their rights. Their object is to save as much money as they can. They have stockholders, and their interest is the bottom line. And when they do that, they're not really looking after your interest. You're an adversary. You're the other side. You're somebody who is making a claim for their assets. The other mistake that people make is they don't get medical treatment immediately and they don't document it. I went to the doctors. We ask people to keep a log, a daily log, a journal. I went to the doctors. I had to get up early. I had to miss work. I had to take the kids to daycare. I had to make sure I had enough change in my pocket to go to the doctors because they only have meter parking. When I go in there, sometimes he will tell me certain things, and if I don't document it, I have a tendency to forget it. They don't talk about all of the pain that they have, the fact that they are dizzy at certain times of the day. They lack energy. Their neck hurts. They have pain, they can't sleep at night. They have pain in their feet or their arms or numbness. Those are some of the things that really and truly are concerns to us. The next one that I always talk about is people fail to get treatment because they lack insurance. There are many, many free clinics. There is provisions on your policy called first party benefits, and you can get them. And one of the things we tell people is, listen, you've got to get treatment if you're injured. You've got to listen to your medical provider. You've got to follow his or her advice, and you've got to do that. People sometimes don't do that. They don't know there's awareness, health benefits, they work for the government. Sometimes senior citizens have Medicare, which provide medical treatment. But sometimes they figure, well, I don't have it, I'm not going to apply for it, I'm not going to do something, and they don't get medical treatment. The next big mistake that we always find is they don't take photographs of their damaged vehicle. Really interesting. They don't have any photographs, so the car it's banged up. You've got a substantial impact. There's no photographs for it. What happens is they total the car. It goes to a scrap yard. It gets crushed. There's no evidence of the car. Nobody even knows it. So you have to make sure that you take pictures, whether it's a slight damage to a vehicle or whether it's substantial. Because if you don't have it, they say, well, it was a fender bender. Somebody gets an old car, 6, 7, 10 years old, it's only worth $1,000. They pay $1,000 and they say, well, he only had a $1,000 car. And when they have a $1,000 car, there can't be a substantial damage to it. The other mistake that we find is when cars are taken to an insurance company's pre-approved body shop. They're going to try to fix the car for the least amount of money that it takes. They're not going to put a substantial number on the vehicle. If you have a car, it should be put back in the same position it was or same condition it was before the injury. And if you do that, sometimes they don't, pre-approved body shops don't do that. The other one, and I really emphasize this one, is people have a tendency to get a check from an insurance company and cash it. And sometimes they want a release. Well, you got the money, we want you to sign this release. They do that and they don't have any idea of the injuries they have. They don't have any idea of what holds time in the future, meaning are they going to be disabled for a while? Are they not going to be able to work? How substantial is the injuries that they have? And they take a check and they figure, well, the guy sent me a check for $500 or $1,000 or $2,000. Well, that's okay. I'll just sign it and take it.
You're saying don't cash the check.
Absolutely don't cash the check. What you really should do is call a lawyer and ask them, any lawyer. And, you know, obviously we want people to call us, but they don't have to call us. They can call any lawyer and say, listen, I got a check. I was in an accident. I got a check for $500 or $200 or $500 or $5,000. What should I do with it? Should I cash it? I think most lawyers are going to say, unless you know the extent of your injuries, unless you know what's going to happen in the future, I wouldn't sign it. Okay. The other thing is we find that people fail to take injuries or photographs of their injuries, and that becomes important. You know, you have a broken arm, you're in the hospital, you have a broken leg, you have bruises. They have a tendency to heal, so that 5 months from now you look fine, even though you busted your nose and you had black eyes and you had a swollen forehead and your neck was all irritated, or you're on a motorcycle and you have road rash. They become important, and people have a tendency, well, I don't want to take those pictures, I don't need them, maybe I'll do without them. You should also have somebody investigate the accident scene. You'd be surprised what happens. We talk about that because people say, well, I had a green light, turn light. Well, how many seconds was it? Well, it was 15 seconds, it was 2 seconds, it was 5 seconds. How much time, how far back in the line were you? What kind of witnesses were they? How wide are the travel lanes? Were they marked? Was it recently paved? They become important because those are significant items that you have to investigate immediately. And we're getting to the end, people don't document their lost wages. They figure, well, I don't worry about it. My employer will tell me that. Well, you're late to work. If your employer doesn't do that, if you're on salary and you happen to come in 5 hours later, or you can't do your job, or you're a self-employed person and you don't have that, all you have to rely on is your insurance records. I'm sorry about your income tax records. You file your income tax. Well, if your income stays the same, even though you couldn't do the work, that doesn't mean you don't have lost wages. You had to hire somebody else to do the job that you had. The other things that we find is that people don't pay attention to how they're affected by an injury. And some of the best people you can have are your friends and their neighbors saying, well, he's not the same as he was. He's not cutting his shrubbery anymore. He can't cut his grass anymore. He's not watering the flowers anymore. These all affect people's actions, and they're noticed by your neighbors, and they're noticed by your friends and coworkers. And that's basically it.
And everything you said is so important because it's documented. And I'm learning something because you said something about taking a picture of what you look like. You could be in a hospital, you're all black and blue, etc., but you document everything. Folks, I'm talking to Mike Cefalo here at Cefalo and Associates, sponsor of Law Talk. The number 570-655-5555. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Law Talk, folks, brought to you by Cefalo and Associates. We're here at 309 Wyoming Avenue in West Pittston, beautiful town, folks. We're here with the man himself, Attorney Michael Cefalo. 9 lawyers here, fully staffed. If you just tuned in, you want to get the show because it's on our website 24/7 under Law Talk. And if you want to go to Cefalo, it's cefaloandassociates.com to learn more about Cefalo and Associates, the people's law firm. And
we like it that way.
I love it.
And we like it that way.
I love that is amazing. Every time I see you on television saying, I just have to smile because you really mean it.
Well, we do, and we like it that way, and that's part of our philosophy, and we follow it right to the letter of the law.
Your segment on the mistakes that people make and document it is here again. The whole reason why I wanted to start at this show, Mike, because people just want to be educated. There are so many things that you said that I didn't know about.
Well, what we try to do is tell people not the mistakes they make, but some of the ideas that are important when they're injured if they want to get compensation. And the American justice system, all you get is compensation. They award you money, and that's all you can get. And in order for them to do that, you have to document all the injuries, all of the ways that it has affected you.
So primarily, the most important thing to do, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're injured or you're in an accident or something happens, call your lawyer immediately.
Well, we've been doing a long time, and you can call us, and there's a lot of lawyers, and everybody thinks they're a PI lawyer, but at least they'll give you some ground rules of where to go.
But that would be the advice, so you don't make the mistakes that you just said.
Absolutely.
I mean, they call you. I get an accident. They call your Cefalo and Associates. I was in an accident. Blah 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 blah. Immediately, either you or one of your associates.
Immediately, somebody will talk to them and give them some advice and tell them some of the things that are important that they should do at this particular point.
In the years that you've been a lawyer, long time, what have you found to be one of the biggest mistakes people make? Whether it's injury, or what is one of the biggest mistakes that they make?
One of the things they try to do is handle it themselves. And that's the biggest problem you can have. You know, even Abe Lincoln said, a lawyer who represents himself has a fool for a client.
So primarily, get legal advice immediately.
You've got to call somebody who knows what's going on, who's up on the law, who can give you direction of where to go. And most people don't have direction where to go. They just don't understand.
Well, folks, talking to Attorney Michael Cefalo, we're here on his two beautiful campuses or places you have. They're just amazing. I mean, we were in it's just great the way the office is set up.
Well,
it's worth just coming to go through your offices.
Well, it is. It's you know, people like to come to the offices and see what it is. And we have one mansion that was built in 1830, and then we have this. It's kind of a mansion. It's big. It's bigger than a normal home. Yeah. And it was built sometime after the turn of the century, but we like it that way.
Well, we're happy to have you on board Law Talk.
Well, thank you very much, Sam. I really appreciate the opportunity to be
We're going to learn a lot more, folks, as time goes on. But remember, you can watch this show 24/7. Great advice Attorney Mike Cefalo gave you. It's 655-5555, CefaloandAssociates.com. You can get him you can find out anything about the firm 24/7 on the upcoming Law Talk shows. You're going to learn a lot more. We'll see you next time on Law Talk.